Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new then welcome to my channel. My name is Stephanie and sometimes I paint things. Today I'll be showing you how I painted my Warsong Revenant, and as some of you guys know, I recently started a Sylvaneth army, so I was obviously really excited when they released this mini. I hope you enjoy my process. I kind of went with a magical Twilight inspired color palette to match the rest of my army, so yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, I went ahead and primed it gray, and we're going to get started on the skin. So I'm base coating it in this deep blue color, and then I'll be mixing the second and third color together for our second layer, followed by a little bit more of the third color added in for each additional layer. What I like to do when I'm doing skin is after I base coat, I just go ahead and block in the highlight areas with an extreme highlight color, and then I'll go ahead and make a glaze of that color by adding water to it and then blending in those gaps. It's a lot faster for me and simplifies the whole process for me. This is me going in with the second color and third color combined with a little bit more white in it, and this is the final highlight. So I'm going to do the wood next, and I'm using this basic brown color, and then I'm going to be combining flat earth with skeleton bone in a 1:1 ratio for the first highlight, and then go in with just skeleton bone for the second and final highlight. We're going to be doing a little bit of wet blending next on this guy's cloak cape skirt thing. I'm using this deep blue and then blue violet and then this really light purple color, and I'm going in with the darkest color first, and I'll be doing each panel of this individually just because with the wet blending you have to do it in small sections. So I'm taking a little bit of each color in line and adding it to the mix. The thing with wet blending that I found is that for me it works better if there's not really any mixing happening on my palette, but rather all of the mixing happening on the mini. So that way when you take each color and you just place it right on there, it gives you a little bit of leeway to mix those together easily without any stark lines. And then the only time I add water to it is when I place a color and the line is just too stark and I can't blend it with the next color. I'll just take a little bit of water on my brush to buff out that line just a little bit, but you really don't want too much water because you give up a lot of control if your paint's flowing all over the place. I'm using these two shades of purple for his eye, so the darker shade goes around the eye socket and then the lighter shade goes in the center, and then I didn't actually show this, but I do take pure white and do an even smaller dot in the middle. And I'm taking Celestial Gray and I am base coating the menorah incubator thing that he has on his back, and that is because I am preparing for the next step in which I'll be using color shift paint. So both the sword and the menorah are both going to be base coated with that, and so is the flute, although I have different plans for the flute, but the base coat made sense for all of them. So this is the color shifting paint I was talking about. This is Pearl Violet, and it sadly doesn't show up very well on video, but in real life it looks like this menorah thing is made out of like a pearlescent type of material, which is what I was going for. I'm then mixing this pink and this purple color in a 1-to-1 ratio, and I'm going to be applying that all over the flute just so that it sinks into the cracks. I did add some water to it so it would behave more similar to a contrast paint, and then I am doing the same thing for the sword on his back. Then I'm going in with this light blue contrast paint, and I am placing this all over the flute so that that blue color will kind of blend in and turn to a nice purple and sink into the cracks. And I do this for the sword on his back as well. Then I am taking pink and I am placing it all over this little orb thing, I guess you could call it, or jewel on the sword. I'm letting the color sink over the crack of where it starts just so that it'll contribute to the glow effect that we're going to do next. I'm taking the pure white and highlighting just the center of it, and then what I do after this to get the right shade for the glow is I mix the pink and the white in a 1-to-1 ratio, and then I add a bunch of water, or you can use mixing medium if you have it, and I am placing that all around just so that it does have a sort of subtle glow. I forgot to mention I also do the same exact thing for his belly button thing on the front, so if you saw that, that's what that was. Next, I am just going to be taking pure white and very gently dry brushing the flute and the sword. This guy is so spindly, you can see here his flute is practically breaking off. I almost broke him like 4 times when I was filming this. We're going to be working on the hair next, and to get the color I'm going for, I am mixing this bright, almost lime green with white and turquoise in an equal ratio of all 3 colors, and this is the color that it makes. So I'm just base coating with that, and then after this all I'm doing is adding a little bit more white gradually and doing more and more layers, trying to bring out the definition of each individual strand of hair. And then once I get up to an almost pure white, I'm just focusing on certain areas like the top of the head and the tips of the hair in order to give it some more contrast and make it look like the light is shining on it. The hair is done, I am ready to do the glow effect for the eye, so I'm just mixing the first and second purple color I used for the eye, watering it down, and then gently placing that all around. Next, I'm going to be working on the branches that are coming out of his back, so I'm doing this in the same exact way as the other wood, using chocolate brown as a base coat, mixing flat earth and skeleton bone together for the highlight, and then finally highlighting with just skeleton bone. I'm trying to be very, very careful with this step because I obviously don't want to get paint all over the nice pearl menorah, so yeah. Next, I'm taking Ghost Gray and base coating all of the eggs on top, and this is because I am preparing for the next step in which I'll be using acrylic inks, and I found that this Ghost Gray is the perfect base coat because it allows the vibrancy of the colors to really show without having to go over the gray primer. So I'm using magenta and yellow, and I am putting magenta on the lower half of the egg, and then I wipe off most of this on a tissue, not adding water because we don't want to dilute our color, but I just wipe it off. grab some of that yellow, and then you can see how easily the colors just flow into each other. The acrylic inks really want to be blended, so whenever I'm doing blending on a smaller surface area, this is what I use. And now I went ahead and finished all of them, and we are moving on to our little bug friend. So I am base coating with Rakarth Flesh and then hitting it with contrast paint. I felt like I had already painted a ton of really bright things on here, so I decided to go subtle for him. That color you just saw was another color shift paint. It's a little bit darker than the original one I used, and I am just placing that into the deep parts of this just to bring out the color more, and then going in with dark red on our little bug friend, so his eyes pop. I'm taking this very light green, and I'll be base coating all of the little hangy trinket ornament things that he has all over, as well as the one that he has on his back. And then after I finish base coating all of those, I'm going to be taking blue acrylic ink and green acrylic ink, and I will be combining these in the exact same way I did for the eggs on top. Our time has come to finally move on to the base. Thank God. I was getting serious painting fatigue at this point. That color you just saw was chocolate brown, and I am placing this all over the bottom of the base, including the little lumpy part that came with the mini. And then I am taking skeleton bone for the giant skull that you see at the base. And then I am taking this uniform green color, and I am base coating all of the vines. I went for a really simple natural color palette for the base to contrast the rest of him. And then of course I'm taking skeleton horde and throwing it all over the place just to give everything some definition and make it look a little bit dirtier. This is probably my favorite step of the entire paint job, to be honest, because I love this contrast paint so much. I'm going to be bringing these vines to life a little bit by adding yellow and green yellow, and I am dry brushing that color onto the top 50%, and then what I do is I add a little bit more yellow to that mix each time, going over less and less surface area towards the edge just to get that gradual blend from green to yellow and make it look seamless. I'm taking Screaming Skull, and I am dry brushing that onto the skull just to give it a little bit more brightness. And then once I am done with that, we're really coming up on the end here, everyone. I am squirting Elmer's glue everywhere. I just squirt it right on, and then I take my basing material and distribute it a little bit more evenly. And if you have not seen my woodland bases tutorial, what I'm using here are tea leaves, and it's actually a mix of 3 different types of tea, and I am just tossing them on before the glue dries. And towards the end I realized I didn't like the skirt as much as I thought, so I ended up doing some dry brushing by mixing purple, pink, and white, and I think that this helped bring a little bit more of the texture out and brighten it up a little bit. Overall, I was really happy. And then it was finally time to black rim it. Alright guys, that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on Saturday for my Deepkin unboxing video, which I am so excited about. Bye bye!